If your wrists are ever zip tied together, there's one simple way to escape in seconds. It's a nightmarish scenario to imagine, let alone live through. But having your wrists zip tied to restrain your movements is something that could potentially happen to you. Thankfully though, the team at Imminent Threat Solutions, ITS, have explained how you can easily escape from such a situation in seconds. And Brian Black is the founder of ITS. He'd previously been in the US Navy. His time in the military was, however, cut short by an injury. Nevertheless, he completed much of the training required to become a SEAL, and so learned a lot about taking care of himself in tough circumstances. Then, after leaving the military, Black developed his interest in the outdoors, and together all of his experiences inspired him to establish ITS, a website that helps readers to safely explore the world while also learning skills that can get them out of unsafe situations. One potential threat identified by Black and his team is kidnapping. More specifically, in a YouTube video that the team produced, they focused on restraint by zip ties, although they also acknowledge that some kidnappers may prefer to utilize rope or duct tape. And as the ITS staff point out on their website, all of these methods can be easily defeated. In a kidnap situation, then, it's all about waiting for the right moment to act. Your captors are most likely not going to have the resources or the patience to keep an eye on you constantly, the ITS site says. So to demonstrate what people should do in such an emergency, the ITS team invested in the strongest zip ties available to them. We chose these because realistically, if someone was determined to go out and buy zip ties to use to illegally restrain someone, they'd more than likely hit the local hardware store and find the toughest ones they could, they wrote. And in the resulting YouTube video, an instructor showcases a very simple way to escape from restraints. He uses a zip tie, although he advises viewers to practice first with duct tape. This can hurt a little, he says of the hard plastic tie before adding, duct tape works the same as what we'll show. However, in the case of a zip tie restraint, there are a few material-specific instructions. For starters, the ITS instructor points out the locking bar, which holds both ends of the plastic strip in a loop around your wrists. The placement of the locking bar is very important, the ITS instructor says. What you're going to want to do is secure the zip ties so that this locking bar that you'll defeat is right in the middle of your hands, he advises. The instructor then places both hands through the loop and begins to tighten the zip tie around his wrist by pulling the loose end with his teeth. The tighter they are, the easier it'll be. With that, the instructor begins to explain the quick, simple motion that will snap the zip tie in two. You're going to be coming down and kind of chicken winging your arms, and at the same time you're going to push, he says. The tutor demonstrates this move by putting his arms over his head, then bringing them back down towards his belly button. His arms are, in fact, in a triangular position. This is what he means by chicken winging them down. To reiterate the technique, the instructor provides another description of how it should look and feel. In one fluid motion, you're going to come down from the top and push down, and you almost want to simulate touching your shoulder blades together as you come down. Then it's time for the tutor to demonstrate how the move would work in real life. He again put his hands over his head and launches them back down towards his stomach. And at the bottom of that trajectory, the zip tie snaps off, with the entire process taking just 2 seconds. The ITS video demonstrating the technique has since racked up more than 8.5 million views on YouTube, although there have been mixed opinions about the ITS team's advice. For instance, some people wondered how this would work in an enclosed space, such as the trunk of a car. Then, of course, there was the question of the hand and zip tie placement. Anyone who has any training with restraints would never tie hands in front of the person, wrote one YouTuber. To that end, another commenter noted how the zip tie placement would have to be just right in order for the plan to work. I guess you could ask the bad guy nicely to put the catch end in the right place, they joked. Nonetheless, the tip from the ITS instructor would at least work if the zip tie was placed in front of someone, and for that many YouTube users were thankful. For example, one individual wrote, "Some people might call tips like this being paranoid, but this could save a life." And on the ITS website, the team provide more suggestions on how to break out of zip ties or how to slip your hands from a loop, depending on the way you're tied. However, in any situation, they advise you to remain passive so that kidnappers have no indication of your expertise. In addition, the ITS team passed on one final tip to render the escape simpler. Make every effort to present your hands to your captor before they use force to restrain you. Essentially, you're presenting your wrist position of your choosing to them, they wrote, and if you remember that, you may just be able to break free from a terrifying situation.